Dressing up as men's clothing plus group pets plus campus plus entertainment industry plus 10,000 fans, what is the feeling of living in a family that values sons over daughters? Doing well is natural, but not doing well is wrong. Yuexi was like this. At the age of 8, she was taken away by a mysterious person. When she found out that her parents were happy with the reward, she was completely hopeless. No light, no warmth, facing cold walls and various tragic deaths every day, living in this dark environment. She began to hate everything around her and despise her identity, until she was chosen to be the lucky one in 1,000. Returning to the outside world, I thought I would spend the rest of my life like this until I met them, which changed her life. Chapter 1. Newly entered university. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Name, Yuexi. The senior at the reporting office briefly checked the information, looked at the person in front of him, and said calmly, "You look pretty. You're in room 001, follow this road to the end, and then turn left." Yuexi withdrew her admission letter, picked up her suitcase, and walked towards the campus. This university is the best school in S City, also known as the aristocratic school. People who can enter here come from top-notch families. Yuexi is an exception. She doesn't come from a prestigious family, doesn't have excellent grades, and hasn't even attended high school. As for why she was able to enter here, it all depends on her identity. She is a top-trained assassin. Her achievements since her debut have already made her famous. No one knows that she, who is cold and heartless, is actually a girl. Since appearing in the public eye, she has been a male identity. Everything is because she was born in a remote mountainous area. The ideology there is still stuck in the past, valuing men over women. What surprised her even more was that she was sold by her parents at the age of 8. From then on, she was taken into a dark abyss, and various experiences made her start to dislike her gender and appear as a boy. A month ago, Han-hee gave her a college admission letter, saying that she would experience a normal life and that constant slaughter would make her increasingly numb. As for Han-hee, he is her only friend in the organization, a boy several years older than her. Recalling her thoughts, she strolled around the campus, with a gentle breeze brushing her hair. Her features were straight, and she was dressed in a white casual suit, attracting the attention of many girls and senior students. "You're too handsome, don't you know if you have a girlfriend? Is the quality of this year's freshman very high? Hello, handsome guy, add a contact information." Yuexi ignored and didn't even lift her head. She gradually quickened her pace and arrived at the downstairs of the boys' dormitory. "Hello. Classmates, please register your information here," the girl sitting in the hallway whispered. Yuexi was about to fill it out when she was attracted by the noise outside the dormitory building. A supercar and 2 luxury cars parked neatly in front of the dormitory building, attracting countless onlookers. A few men in black quickly got off the car from behind, with the leader holding a suitcase and standing in front of the supercar waiting. Yuexi withdrew her gaze, filled in the information, and then left this noisy place. 001, Yuexi murmured to herself. She has been searching for half a day but has not found her own dormitory. Helpless, she returned to the place where she had just filled out the information, her tone extremely cold. "May I ask where is room 001? The girl raised her head at the sound, her eyes puzzled and her expression speechless. She then pointed to the room behind her and replied, "This is it." Yuexi gently pushed open the dormitory door, and what caught her eye was a tall and profound figure standing in front of the window, gazing at the scenery outside. Upon hearing the sound of the door opening, the boy slowly turned around, his voice very gentle. "Hello, classmate." "Hello." Yuexi coldly replied. The dormitory is bigger than she imagined. A 6-person room with a bed and table, a separate bathroom, and a balcony, covering nearly 100 square meters. Yuexi is still very satisfied with the independent bathroom, as she is a girl, which can save her a lot of trouble. She found her own bed and was about to tidy it up when the door to her dormitory was kicked open fiercely. Two men in black stood on both sides of the door carrying suitcases. Subsequently, a boy wearing black sunglasses slowly entered. He gives the impression of being somewhat rebellious, with a loose shirt swaying on his body, looking like a playboy. The boy in front of the window still spoke softly, "Hello, classmate." "Hello," the boy's voice was filled with joy. Yuexi ignored him and continued to tidy up her bed. She, who has never experienced a normal life before, now regrets coming here. Her movements in her hands gradually stopped. "Classmate, do you need my help?" The boy in front of the window noticed Yuexi's situation and came to her bed. "No need." Her tone remained cold. "Please don't block the entrance." A very magnetic voice came from outside the dormitory. The boy waved his hand and the two black-clothed men retreated to the side. The boy has a tall and straight figure, and his slightly slender hair cannot conceal his handsome features. His half-framed glasses exude a strong sense of luxury. He looked around and said to himself, "It's okay." Muzishi still greeted gently, "Hello, classmate, my name is Muzishi." "Hello, Yuexi." Chapter 2. What are all the fairy roommates? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yuexi lifted her eyes. She has heard of this name. Yuexi, the successor of the U group. According to rumors, he entered the entertainment industry and became a highly anticipated star. Despite opposition from his family, he still persevered with his intentions. "I didn't expect her to see you here." Lin Mofan, the eldest son of the Lin group. Yuexi whispered in confusion. Lin's, the most famous group in S City. Yuexi thought to herself. She couldn't help but smile bitterly. In a short period of time, two young masters from wealthy families had moved into this dormitory. I never imagined that I would become roommates with them. She now has some doubts about how Han-hee, that guy, got the quota for this school. Upon hearing such words from Yuexi, Lin Mofan nodded proudly, as if an intangible sense of superiority surged in his heart. "Don't worry, share the same dormitory with me, and I won't treat you unfairly in the future." Yuexi smiled slightly, ignored him, and walked straight to her bed. His bed happens to be next to Yuexi. "Hello, classmate." His voice is very clear and his tone of voice is soft, giving a comfortable feeling. "Hello." Yuexi's cold voice sounded like a cold wind permeating people, and she threw two words at him. This is her instinctive instinct as a killer. For strangers, she never shows her emotions, but uses her cold personality as a cover. Yuexi saw the situation and didn't say anything more. Everyone is busy with their own affairs. Time has gradually arrived in the afternoon. The door of the dormitory was slowly pushed open. What caught the eye was a 17 or 18-year-old boy with a straight figure, wearing white headphones, carrying a backpack across the shoulder, and wearing a pure white shirt. Shattered and dense black hair, with an indescribable smile beneath her thin lips. "Hello, my name is Jiang Guren. Please take good care of me." He greeted warmly. Yuexi responded with a smile. Lin Mofan welcomed him, his face full of disbelief. "You didn't stay well in City A, why did you come?" "You manage it," Jiang Guren smiled. "Uncle Jiang, how have you been lately? I heard he was hospitalized a while ago." "He's fine, it's just that he's had an old habit, it's not a big deal." Listening to the conversation between the two, Yuexi's mind began to quickly organize useful information. A city. Surname Jiang. Acquainted with the Lin family. For an instant, she felt a bit uncomfortable and the corners of her mouth twitched slightly, feeling a bit shocked. The conclusion drawn is that Jiang Guren is from the Jiang family in a city, the Jiang family who lives alone and ranks first in the fashion industry. She suddenly felt that the world was absurd. The first time I went to school, my roommates were all young masters from wealthy families. She slowly turned around to look in the direction of Yuexi. At this moment, he was quietly flipping through the books in his hand. Yuexi secretly felt relieved that it was fortunate that Yuexi did not come from a wealthy family, otherwise she might really not be able to accept it. After a brief interlude, the dormitory fell silent again, as if waiting for the arrival of the last roommate. After about an hour, the door to the dormitory was pushed open again. Yuexi raised her eyes and stared at the door. The boy was dressed in a decent beige casual suit, with a sparkling black and gold ring in his hand that displayed extraordinary luxury, exuding a natural and noble aura. His gaze was cold, he looked around the dormitory, didn't speak, and walked straight to the last empty bed. Chapter 3. How You Did It. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Accompanied by the arrival of the last boy. The people in room 001 have already gathered. Time has also arrived in the evening. Lin Mofan was the first to jump off the bed. Since all the members of our dormitory have arrived, how about I treat everyone to dinner tonight? He said enthusiastically, but there was a hint of pride in his eyes. It's a bit unreasonable to let you treat us for the first time, why not AA? After all, we have to live together for 4 years, so we can get to know each other better. Yuexi was the first person to respond to him. Yuyuro and Jiang Yuren, as well as the last boy who came, had no objections and nodded in agreement. Yuexi turned his gaze to Yuexi, as if asking for her opinion. I'm not interested. Yuexi lay quietly on the ground, her eyes not even open, and said coldly. It's better not to be absent for the first gathering in the dormitory, Yuexi said gently with a hint of disappointment in his eyes. Yuexi's fist gradually clenched, as if a volcano could erupt at any time. The first reason why she didn't go was that she really didn't have much interest, and the second reason was that she didn't have any money at all. No one may believe that the top killer in the world has no money. Although it's a bit outrageous, she's really poor. All the living expenses used to be provided by Han-hee. The bounties and rewards she earned were also deposited into Han-hee's card, which is why she is now penniless. Does it have any impact on me? A cold tone combined with annoying words. Lin Mofan couldn't bear to listen anymore. If love doesn't go, why pretend? If he doesn't go, let's go. Suddenly, there was a strong smell of gunpowder, and everyone looked like they were watching a play. Yuexi slowly opened her eyes and jumped down, not even seeing Yuexi who was closest to her clearly. Lin Mofan was also shocked by the scene before him and assumed a ready-to-fight posture. Unexpectedly, Yuexi ignored him and walked directly past him, leaving a sentence behind. Go, go. 6 figures shuttled through the peaceful and lively campus. These young people walk on the campus path, their appearance seems to have a unique charm, attracting the envy and friendly gaze of many girls. They exuded a confident glow through their warm and watery faces, making them want to get closer. Look. Ah. You're so handsome. The eldest son of the Lin group, Lin Xiao, is truly talented and wealthy. Yuyuro, it's Yuyuro. My idol is actually in the same university as me. The air echoed with everyone's admiration and applause, which made Lin Mofan's smile even more brilliant. He occasionally turned around and looked at Yuexi with a proud expression, as if showing off the honor of success. And Yuexi, who followed behind him, had a resolute gaze, always staring ahead as if ignoring his existence. At this moment, a girl suddenly rushed out of the crowd and stopped in front of 6 people. The girl hurriedly rummaged through her bag, and everyone silently watched her movements. Yuexi came to the girl in an instant and grabbed her outstretched hand. With a fierce break, the pen and paper in the girl's hand fell off. In the blink of an eye, Yuexi held a pen and pressed it against the girl's neck. Her eyes were as cold as ice, making people feel as if they had fallen into a glacier. Everything happened too quickly, and the girl was so nervous that her body trembled. Ah! A scream spread from the crowd. The other few people were all shocked, and they didn't expect the thin and weak boy in front of them to be so terrifying. Yuexi also noticed her behavior and slowly moved her hand away. Without saying anything, he left the crowd. Zishi came to the girl's side, calming her frightened heart. After a brief understanding, I found out that she is a fan of Yuexi and just wants a signature. Upon learning of the situation, Yuexi picked up the pen in the girl's hand without hesitation and left her name on the notebook she had prepared beforehand. The girl saw this scene and immediately jumped with joy, forgetting everything just now. This move has also attracted the pursuit and blessings of the surrounding population. Everyone rushed forward to request signatures and group photos. For a moment, Yuexi was surrounded by enthusiastic girls layer by layer. At the street in front of the school gate, Yuexi stood quietly, waiting for the appearance of the others. She lowered her gaze and carefully gazed at her hands, her heart filled with confusion and confusion. Everything that just happened was a subconscious reaction from her professional killer. At this moment, Zishi walked lightly from behind and said. His tone was as gentle as the melodious melody of rainwater dripping onto the lake, soothing Yuexi's restless mood. She nodded and followed Zishi and others towards the location of the restaurant. At this moment, Lin Mofan walked over curiously. It was obvious that he had not come out of what had just happened. Quietly asking Yuexi, just now, how did you do that? Also, what exactly are you doing? Yuexi remained silent, just moving forward silently. For her, this question is too heavy, and she doesn't want people to know the secret behind her identity. But Lin Mofan didn't seem to give up and continued to pursue Yuexi's answer. Yuexi, who was somewhat impatient, flashed a chill in her eyes and said coldly, "You childish person, stay away from me." Chapter 4. Release. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After about half an hour's journey, everyone arrived at their destination. Although Yuexi had already warned Lin Mofan, he continued to inquire about her along the way. Unable to bear it, Yuexi got off the car directly, attempting to escape the buzzing fly of Lin Mofan. She looked up at the building in front of her, grand and luxurious. This is the most famous shopping mall in S-City, with complete facilities such as a cinema, bar, watch shop, and hotel, making it one of the best luxury shopping malls. Lin Mofan's voice echoed from behind. Isn't it a gathering? What are you doing in the mall? Yuexi said somewhat puzzled. Her perception is still stuck at the point where the mall is the mall and the restaurant is the restaurant. Seeing Yuexi finally speak up, he quickly explained, the most famous restaurant is here. Let's go and I'll take you to take a look. After speaking, he took Yuexi's hand and walked straight in, with Zishi and others following behind. As those warm and powerful hands gently grasped her raised arm, a lingering sense of shock surged in her heart like a tide. In an instant, all the senses began to become blurry. For many years, no one has ever given her such a warm touch. Entering the mall, her gaze became scattered and she was pulled away like this. It wasn't until Lin Mofan stopped walking that she regained her composure. Looking at Lin Mofan's back, his voice said coldly, "Let go." Looking at Yuexi's indifferent expression, he slowly released his hand. The restaurant was luxurious and spacious, and Lin Mofan skillfully walked in. The waiter greeted us with a smile on his face and said, "Hello, Mr. Lin. It's been a long time since we last visited our store, is it still the usual practice? I brought a few friends, let's see what they say then." After Lin Mofan finished giving orders, the waiter brought a few people to the private room. "Dear customers, everyone can order from the tablet on their right-hand side. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me anytime." After the waiter finished giving orders, he left the private room. Yuexi looked at the various things on the screen in front of her, feeling a bit confused. She, who doesn't even have a smartphone, has almost never been exposed to new things. Apart from eating and sleeping, she is just doing various tasks. Lin Mofan noticed Yuexi's situation and asked briefly, "Why don't you order? There's nothing you like." "I have no appetite. Lin, this is our first time and we don't know what dishes are delicious. Why don't you recommend a few dishes for us?" After Mu Zishi finished speaking, he gave Yuexi a gentle glance. After a while, the ordered dishes were all placed on the table. Yuexi ordered a bottle of red wine, picked up his glass, and briefly introduced himself. Subsequently, Lin Mofan and Jiang Guren also raised a cup and attached a brief introduction. Shen Xian, from City A, said the last boy to enter the dormitory. "The Shen family in City A?" Lin Mofan exclaimed in surprise. Shen Xian nodded. "I have heard that the eldest son of Shen Group started managing the company at the age of 13 and became one of the youngest candidates for chairman," said Jiang Guren. "The rumors in the martial arts world are not so exaggerated," Shen Xian said calmly. Shen Xian spoke humbly, but everyone knew how terrifying his management ability was. The experience of becoming a candidate at the age of 18 is already unimaginable. Chapter 5. Borrow me some cash. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Shen Xian briefly introduced himself, everyone turned their gaze to Yuexi. She slowly stood up, holding a glass of wine. Yuexi. At this moment, waves of phone bells rang in her pocket. She took out her phone, but it shocked everyone. Button phone. She didn't care about the expressions of everyone. Walk straight towards the outside. What's going on? How was your college life? Han He's mocking voice came from the other end of the phone. Are you okay to say what kind of people these are? This young master, that celebrity. Of course I am excellent. Otherwise, I could be assigned to the same dormitory as them. Han He sneered, where are you now? Dinner together. Did you get along very well? Get lost, you bastard Han He. I'll make sure you look good when I go back. Don't be angry, I was proud to leave you a surprise. Han He smiled. What surprise? You will know in the future. After speaking, he hung up the phone call. Yuexi's current mood is as if she wants to shatter Han He into pieces. Welcome me. Yuexi's voice echoed behind her. He had just finished his signature task when he rushed over. Seeing Yuexi hanging up the phone, he thought he was welcoming him and welcomed him. Yuexi turned around and looked at the delicate boy in front of her, saying with white eyes, "You've been overthinking." Okay, together. Yuexi walked to the door and looked back at Yuexi, who had not moved her figure, asking. Do me a favor. What are you busy with? Lend me 20 yuan in cash. Yuexi couldn't believe her ears. What? Yuexi repeated her words once again. There is no cash, I can transfer the money to you. I only need cash, Yuexi said firmly. Are you going to buy something? Yuexi nodded. Can't you make payment on your phone? Yuexi was a bit puzzled, as she had never been exposed to new things before. How could she possibly understand these things? Yuexi saw her silent, as if there was something difficult to say, so she didn't continue to ask. What do you want to buy? I'll make the payment for you. The two of them arrived at the nearest convenience store. Yuexi bought a pack of cigarettes, and Yuexi paid for it. The two of them sat on the bench, and Yuexi took out a cigarette and handed it to him. Yuexi waved her hand and refused, I don't know. I owe you one favor, Yuexi exhaled a mouthful of smoke. Speaking of which, this is the first time that Yuexi has carefully examined Yuexi's appearance. The cold and aloof eyes seemed to have no focal length, and the deep and dark fundus was filled with calmness. The jet black hair scattered in my ears. Surrounded by a cold aura, giving people a feeling of softness and beauty. Are you interested in developing in the entertainment industry? Yuexi trembled slightly and said lightly, I'm not interested. Yuexi didn't know how to say such words, she just felt that Yuexi gave him a feeling of speaking out. By the way, I haven't asked for your name yet. Yuexi. A very nice name, Yuexi exclaimed. As the words fell, Yuexi turned her gaze to him. This is the first time someone has praised her, and for a moment she didn't know how to respond. Have you finished smoking? I think they should be in a hurry. Yuexi turned her eyes and smiled. At this moment, her and his gaze met in the air, like countless sparks igniting in Yuexi's heart. He quickly avoided, but did not notice that Yuexi was doing the same action as him. We're done, let's go. Chapter 6. I don't like women. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the private room of the restaurant. Half of the food on the table has been eliminated. Several people watched as Yuexi and Yuexi entered together, and their hearts were filled with doubts and confusion. Sorry. There are too many signatures and we are late, Yuexi said politely. He gracefully helped Yuexi pull up her seat before sitting in his own seat. He looked at the half bottle of red wine on the table and conscientiously picked up his glass. Yuexi, from a city, is a newcomer to the entertainment industry. Please take care of me in the future, and I will punish myself. The atmosphere at the dinner table was very harmonious, and everyone quickly became familiar with it. Only Yuexi was silently eating the remaining delicacies. She ate very carefully, as if she wouldn't waste any food in her world. Zishi noticed her silence and picked up his glass and walked up to her. Yuexi, can I invite you to a drink? He still maintained his gentle voice. Yuexi didn't speak, just picked up her glass and drank it all in one gulp. You shouldn't be a local, right? No, it's not. It's not easy to go out, but if you encounter anything in the future, you can tell me and I can help you. Zishi raised his glass again. Yuexi put down her chopsticks and remained silent for a moment. She picked up her glass and drank it all again, saying, no need. They all live in the same dormitory, there's no need to be so polite. Afterwards, he continued to chat with Yuexi without saying a word. Although her answers were all cold. At night, the streets are filled with crowds. Several people have a habit of running at night, so they didn't take a taxi, but chose to walk back to school. 6 people strolled through the bustling streets, attracting many women to approach them. Hello, handsome guy, can you add a contact information? The woman's voice echoed from behind Yuexi. Everyone turned around, and the woman was very beautiful, without heavy makeup or revealing clothing, dressed in a very casual way. No way, Yuexi said without looking back. The woman did not give up and stopped in front of Yuexi, with disappointment in her eyes. She continued to ask, why? I don't like women. She pushed away the woman and, amidst the shock on everyone's faces, continued moving forward without looking back. The voices of discussion behind suddenly became lively. Such a handsome man, surprisingly. Oh my God, it's so exciting. Having personality. Yuexi ignored these words and could choose to accept everything like Lin Mofan. It can also be ignored directly like Shen Xian and Jiang Duran. It can be politely rejected like Zishi and Yuexi. She chose the most exciting way. Lin Mofan raised his thumb directly and said, 6. I didn't expect that your way of rejecting women is to push yourself towards the same-sex direction, Jiang Duran smiled. Although they all feel that Yuexi's words just now were just to reject a woman's lies, it is still easy to make people feel that her orientation is wrong. In the future, if you encounter such a situation again, don't say what you said earlier. Yuexi didn't joke, but slowly approached her and said. Yuexi didn't speak. Just refuse, but don't let yourself become a topic of discussion for others. Yuexi had a nonchalant expression on her face and casually said, it's really troublesome, I know. Chapter 7. What do you want to do? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The night is deep, and the entire dormitory building is immersed in dim light. At the moment of arriving at the dormitory, it was already 10 o'clock in the evening, and everyone wore expressions of sweating and exhaustion, as if they had just experienced a vigorous exercise. Fortunately, there is also a convenient bathing facility in the dormitory. The bathroom. This is like a savior to them at this moment. Lin Mofan rushed into the bathroom without warning. The speed is so fast that one cannot help but wonder. Subsequently, the rest of the people gradually finished bathing. Yuexi only walked into the bathroom and locked the door. She finally freed herself from the confinement of her chest, and as she looked at her increasingly mature body, she couldn't help but sigh. Although she hates women very much, she is still a girl. She stood quietly under the shower, letting the water splash against her. He felt that the day had been a long one, accustomed to a high-intensity and tense life, and for a moment he felt a bit uncomfortable with this kind of comfort. At this moment, she remembered the surprise that Han He had told her, and couldn't help but feel a chill in her back. After all, she thinks that people like Han He can prepare something good for her. However, under the eaves, she had to bow her head, and she could only silently pray that the surprise should not turn into fright. In the dormitory, it was unusually quiet at this moment, and everyone was doing their own thing. Shen Xian lay on the bed holding his phone and sent a message to his assistant. Check the information of my roommate. Yuexi entrusted a hacker to investigate all the information about Yuexi. Tonight's incident made him feel that Yuexi, this boy, must not be that simple. Lin Mofan is not idle either. He is replying to the messages about the women he was chatting with tonight. After washing up, Yuexi walked out of the bathroom. She changed into a loose white shirt and shorts, her slender legs exposed, her skin delicate and crystal white, making people drool. Everyone's gaze fell on her one after another. Have you seen enough? Yuexi said coldly. Yuexi, your figure is unmatched by many female models, Lin Mofan joked. Damn it. After speaking, Yuexi ignored him and came to her own bed. She habitually leaned her head against the wall. I closed my eyes, but a chill came from my calves. A pair of warm hands pressed down on her left leg. In an instant, she suddenly opened her eyes and kicked her right foot out with all her might. Ah! Accompanied by a scream, Yuexi sat up straight. Yuexi is rubbing her shoulders. What a tough move. What do you want to do? Yuexi's eyes showed a murderous intent, warning. I just want you to move your head here, after all, I'm not used to the position of my head facing your feet, Yuexi explained softly. He had originally planned to have Jiang Duran adjust his head position, but he had already fallen asleep and had no choice but to choose Yuexi. Unexpectedly, it received a merciless kick. After listening to his explanation, Yuexi remained silent for a moment before placing the pillow on the other side. Thank you. Yuexi endured the pain and said. Next time, if there's such a thing, you can tell me directly and don't touch me again. After Yuexi finished speaking, she closed her eyes. Yuexi let out a soft sigh, rubbed her shoulder where Yuexi had kicked her, and lay down. In the dimly lit dormitory, Mu Zishi quietly gazed at everything. Chapter 8. Is favored. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The morning sunshine fell on Yuexi's cheeks. She opened her hazy eyes. It's already 10 o'clock in the morning. She quickly stood up and watched as everyone else was still asleep. This is her first time sleeping until she wakes up naturally, and it is also her most comfortable sleep. After a slight pause, she got out of bed and after a simple wash, she left the dormitory. I originally planned to buy some food, but when I approached the restaurant, I realized that I had no money at all. She took out her phone and dialed Han He's number. What's wrong? A hazy voice came from the other end of the phone. It was obvious that Han He had not woken up yet, and Yuexi didn't pay attention to these things. She said directly, "Send me some money." "What? I don't have a penny now, please send me some cash," Yuexi roared when she heard Han He's answer. "I remember, Yuexi is a primitive person and doesn't know how to use these electronic products," Han He's voice was somewhat mocking. "Don't talk nonsense, quickly bring it to me. I'm not in China right now, and I won't be able to go back for a while," Han He explained. "No, you can learn how to use a smartphone, and then you can make mobile payments. What should I do now, starve to death? Then you can only think of a solution on your own. I have to hang up beforehand." After speaking, Han He hung up the phone. This action made Yuexi so angry that she almost couldn't catch her breath. Helpless, she had no choice but to return to her dormitory. Mu Zishi happened to come out of the bathroom and met her. She remembered what Mu Zishi had said to her last night, that when something happened, she could turn to him for help. "Can you take me to eat something?" Yuexi's tone softened a lot, not as cold as before. Mu Zishi hesitated for a moment and said he could. He quickly tidied up his attire and took Yuexi to the nearest restaurant. Yuexi ordered a bowl of noodles and a steaming basket. Mu Zishi only asked for a cup of soybean milk. He looked quietly at the person in front of him, with a hint of pity in his eyes. "If you're not full, please continue later." Yuexi put down the dishes, shook her head, and said, "No need." She found that Mu Zishi was still staring at her. "What are you looking at me for?" "It's nothing, I just think you're not easy," Mu Zishi explained, his gaze never shifting from her from beginning to end. "I'm not easy," Mu Zishi said, "coming out of a remote mountain village, I started working and earning money to go to school at the age of 11. It's really inspiring." Upon hearing this, Yuexi was both surprised and helpless. She is indeed a child who came from the mountainous area and started working at the age of 11. But how did these Mu Zishi know? Doubts began to grow in her heart, and her eyes slowly became alert. "Are you surprised? Why did I know your information?" Yuexi remained silent, only watching him with caution. "Actually, this school is sponsored by my family, so I can see everyone's study materials," Mu Zishi continued to explain. "What did you say?" Yuexi was somewhat surprised. "Mu's foundation, you should have heard some rumors, they are all true. The Mu family consortium, she has indeed heard of it, is a hidden family in S City with truly strong financial resources. Rumors have it that the Mu family can make the Lin group disappear directly by stomping their feet. So, you are the young master of the Mu family." Mu Zishi nodded slightly. "I thought she, like Mu Zishi, had no background, but now it seems that she is the clown." Yuexi let out a bitter smile to conceal her embarrassment. "I don't have much identity, I'm just your roommate now," Mu Zishi comforted gradually, afraid that Yuexi would feel inferior because of this. "Let's go, I'm already full." Mu Zishi stood up to pay the bill, but was informed that someone had already paid for them. "When?" "Just now." "What kind of person do you remember?" "A lady," the boss explained. At the same time, Yuexi stood at the entrance of the restaurant as a gorgeous girl brushed past her. The girl handed Yuexi a note and smiled, saying, "Remember to contact me, handsome guy." After the words fell, the girl left straight away, leaving Yuexi's face full of helplessness and doubt. Chapter 9. A series of. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Outside the restaurant. Yuexi ignored the note in her hand and put it into her pocket. "Let's go." Mu Zishi couldn't find the person to pay for them and walked out reluctantly. He walked with Yuexi on campus, although there were not many people during the day, they still attracted many girls. However, Mu Zishi had no geographical knowledge at all. Instead, he said to Yuexi, "Yuexi, your department has a class at 3 p.m. this afternoon. How do you know? Yuexi hesitated for a moment because she didn't even know the course schedule of her department. There is a notification in the group, haven't you received it? Yuexi felt a bit helpless at this moment. After all, she was someone who didn't even have a smartphone, so how could she possibly see messages in the group? Oh. Mu Zishi seemed to also realize that what he said had invisibly hurt Yuexi's self-esteem. Yuexi, I'm sorry, he sincerely apologized, I forgot about your situation. Oh. Yuexi paid no attention to the way. Her behavior made Mu Zishi even more self-blaming. Instantly pulled up Yuexi's arm and headed straight towards the door. This is Yuexi's second time being touched like this, and for an instant her body seemed to be electrocuted. Different from Lin Mofan's previous contact. She felt a warmth, and no one felt disgusted or disgusted. Mu Zishi stopped a taxi and said, Master, go to the nearest mobile phone store. His hand was still firmly holding on to Yuexi. Can we let go now? Yuexi's voice was not as cold as before, but with a hint of inquiry. Mu Zishi gently loosened his grip, but his cheeks couldn't help but blush. Yuexi's skin was very soft, as if there was a magic that made him want to touch it more for a while. He didn't know why he felt this way, slowly opening the car window to clear his mind. Yuexi asked, Where are we going? Go buy you a phone. I don't have money. Mu Zishi slowly looked at her, his gaze hot and sincere, as bright as a bright moon. I don't need your money, I'll help you make the payment. No need, Yuexi refused. Don't have any psychological burden, I just want to help you. It's enough to owe a favor once. Mu Zishi did not answer. He knew that excessive enthusiasm would only make Yuexi increasingly resistant to him. Then treat it as if I borrowed it from you. When you have money later, just repay me. Yuexi did not answer, but recorded this matter. Upon arriving at the destination, looking at various types of phones, Yuexi felt a bit at a loss to start. Muzi chose several of the most popular new phones for her to choose from. In the end, she chose a new pink phone. The salesperson and Mu Zishi were somewhat surprised. After all, few boys choose colors that lean towards girls. On the return journey, Mu Zishi patiently guided Yuexi's phone operation. Yuexi has a high level of intelligence, and after a simple explanation, she can easily grasp it. Then she asked a surprising question, how to make payment with a mobile phone. Mu Zishi also explained to her one by one, and then registered his first chat account. Mu Zishi also became her first chat friend. Returning to the campus by car, Mu Zishi bid her farewell. She also walked towards the direction of the teaching building. University is the most famous university in this city, and it is renowned for its large size, wide area, and beautiful campus environment. Each department has its own exclusive area. Each major also has its own teaching buildings. Yuexi, who had never entered the campus before, looked at various buildings and felt a bit confused and at a loss. It took her about half an hour to arrive at her professional classroom. There are already many students in the classroom at this time. She walked into the classroom, sat down in a slightly back corner, and then continued to take out her phone to explore. As time passed, the number of people in the classroom gradually increased. As we approached 3 o'clock, the front seats of the classroom were almost fully occupied. At this moment, a girl sat beside her holding a book. Yuexi ignored her and didn't even lift her head. The girl glanced sideways at her, feeling somewhat familiar, and then took a few more glances. Suddenly, in an excited voice, he said, "It's you. It's really you." Listening to some familiar voices, Yuexi looked up at the girl in front of her, also somewhat shocked. She didn't expect that the girl in front of her was actually the person who gave her a note in the restaurant. Coincidentally, we are in the same department. Chapter 10, She Can't Be That One, Can She? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yuexi hesitated for a moment before continuing to lower her head and fiddle with her phone. Handsome guy, what's your name? The girl urgently asked for her name. Yuexi did not respond. The girl didn't give up and continued, handsome guy, what is your chat account? I'll add you. Handsome guy, why are you ignoring me? The girl's words continued until the guide arrived, and then they quieted down. Yuexi also let out a long sigh. She put away her phone and slowly straightened her body. The next time, it will be the guide talking about some official content. I used to spend the whole afternoon bored, but the door to the classroom was slowly pushed open. A boy appeared in everyone's sight, and Yuexi followed her gaze, causing her to tremble. It was none other than her roommate, Jiang Guren, who appeared. The guide looked at him with a resentful gaze and then coldly said, why come so late? It's my first time thinking of you, so I won't be punished. Hurry up and find a seat to sit down. Jiang Guren smiled awkwardly. When he woke up, it was already December 30th, noon. There was originally plenty of time, but when he opened his phone, an order appeared. Until now, he had not completed it. It was only after 3 o'clock that he hurriedly arrived. As for him, besides being the heir of the Jiang family, he also has another identity, a hacker. He has been very passionate about computers since childhood, coupled with his exceptional talent. As he grew older, he also began to engage with the profession of hackers. Over time, he also became a top player in the industry. The appearance of Jiang Guren has also attracted discussions among many girls. After all, that girl doesn't like handsome guys. Girls are eagerly anticipating that Jiang Guren can sit next to her. At this moment, Yuexi's gaze met his, and Jiang Guren's face showed a hint of surprise. He quickly walked to Yuexi's row and sat directly in the seat next to Yuexi. The girl felt a bit happy and almost fainted at this moment. Two handsome guys are on her left and right. She quickly greeted Jiang Guren and said, hello, my name is Karen. Jiang Guren glanced at the girl and smiled slightly, hello, Jiang Guren. Afterwards, Karen began her nagging mode again, with the instructor speaking below and her speaking above. Jiang Guren didn't have an impatient expression and kept smiling. However, his gaze was actually all on Yuexi. It's strange to say that the order he received today actually gave him all the information about Yuexi. During the break between classes, Karen remained in a constant state, but instead brought Yuexi into the discussion. Jiang, you're not only handsome, but also so warm. Don't let the handsome guy next to me be cold, Ku complained with a warm mouth. Yuexi has this personality. Do you know each other? A dormitory. After hearing this news, Kunwan's eyes seemed to emit a golden light. Jiang, can you tell me if Yuexi has a girlfriend? Upon hearing this, Jiang Guren remained silent for a moment, as if recalling something, and then gave a wicked smile. She doesn't like girls. Karen seemed to be having a hallucination, but she confirmed it again and got the exact answer. She turned and looked at Yuexi, who was playing with her phone with her head down, with a somewhat confused look in her eyes, and let out a light sigh. Jiang, she can't be that one, can she?